travel show.
Face to face with an iconic predator.
When you make eye contact with a beast this size, your heart just goes...
And exploring Ibera wetlands.
Okay, so left hand here, right hand behind, grab the tail. Oh, and we're away!
The best North American road trips. And storytelling in Scotland.
You can decide if this really happened.
We begin this week in northeast Argentina and the second largest wetland in the whole of South America, Ibera. For centuries, it's been home to the paisano. These gauchos are famous for navigating the treacherous marshlands on horseback. Omar leads tour groups through the wetlands.
Omar, eres un paisano, ¿sí? ¿Podrías contarme qué significa eso?
Un paisano significa haber nacido en el campo y llevar esta ropa que tenemos nosotros, que tenemos comúnmente de trabajar entre las vacas. Mucha gente fueron lo que nosotros llamamos mariscadores o cazadores, que netamente vivía de los esteros del Ibera, ¿viste? Cazando por las pieles a los animales para poder sobrevivir.
The Ibera wetlands have changed a lot in Omar's time. A generation ago, this environment was under threat. Hunting, as well as rapid coastal development, caused much of the area's wildlife to disappear. But now, the outlook is a lot sunnier. Ibera has become a national park, under the protection of an NGO called the Conservation Land Trust.
Y de ahí nos mostró de cuidar la naturaleza y en el futuro tener el trabajo que hoy estamos teniendo. O sea, para mí es positivo, algo grandioso. Entonces empezaron a aumentar la vida silvestre, a amansarse, porque ese era un poco el fin para poder después hacer el turismo.
Today, lots of native species are thriving, including wild pampas deer and these giant guinea pigs, capybara. But there's still lots more work to be done.
Now, one of the continent's most feared and revered predators is returning to Ibera. I'm on my way to find out how that's going to happen.
Welcome to Estancia San Alonso, the island home of rewilding Argentina, a project aiming to reintroduce this beautiful, terrifying animal to the wild.
Oh my, guys, this is, when you make eye contact with a beast this size, your heart just goes...
She's Isa. She's a Brazilian panther or jaguar. She's about 6 years old. Yeah, she's quite young.
And how will the wetlands benefit from introducing this beautiful animal?
Well, these animals were part of this ecosystem. They have been here for hundreds and thousands of years. They disappeared from the wetlands, and now this ecosystem is lacking from this top predator. And of course, we needed maintaining the prey populations in natural numbers. I mean, not making them increase so much.
This whole ecosystem evolved with that keystone apex predator.
Yes.
Take that out and everything starts to wobble and crumble, right?
Yes.
It's estimated there are only 250 wild jaguars left across the whole of Argentina. But for many locals, they still have a special, mystical significance.
It's common that here in Corrientes, jaguars are related with bravery and masculinity, and is kind of related with the gaucho image.
Claro que sí, es muy de lo nuestro. Inclusive acá dentro de los paisanos hay a uno que que le pusieron de apodo el yaguareté, por ejemplo, por ser fuertes, por ser de acá. Bienvenido, para mí, bienvenido. El yaguareté de vuelta a nuestra zona.
Back on the island and under the supervision of Magali, the coordinator, I'm allowed into the enclosure to prepare Isa's meal.
Okay, we've got one hanging fish. We've got one piece of mystery meat. Ready to go? Okay. She looks a little annoyed. Normally, I don't think food arrives this late. If you look here, there's 2 trapdoors, and I've just been granted permission to open them. Wait, which one do I open? Both of them. I don't want to open the wrong one.
No, the blue one. The blue one
okay.
will open that door.
Okay, so I'm...
When she makes the whistle, then you can open.
Okay. Wow. Okay, look, here she comes. Entering into the feeding enclosure. We've hung the fish up. Let's see if she can find it. Oh. Oh! That's a predator, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. And breakfast is served. So Talia, this jaguar is not going to be put back in the wild.
No, she was donated to our project as a breeder. These animals that come from captivity, they cannot be released. As you saw, they relate humans with food. So if they lived free and saw a human, they would go directly to ask for food, and that's not what we want.
Talia hopes Isa will breed with their other captive jaguar, a reclusive male called Nawel. Nearby, 2 cubs born to another female are being prepared for release.
And I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure everyone at home, including myself, wants to know the answer to. Can we see a baby jaguar?
No, I'm sorry to tell you, we won't see one.
But there are some here.
Yes, they are just right behind us. But they are in another special enclosure where you will see some black meshes, so they cannot see people. They don't relate people with food, but we can see them with the cameras. This is a female, and well, she's in her swimming pool.
Is this is one right here?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, you can see it. You have a good eye.
Thank you. And when they are released, what do you hope will happen?
Well, we are all very anxious to get to that moment. We expect them to stay close to this place, to the protected area, to find their food here and their home here. We expect them to reproduce and have more cubs, and it will be successful if that happens. I think it will be the time to say that the Ibera ecosystem is complete again, as it used to be in the past.
Including the cubs, a total of 5 jaguars are set for release, signaling the return of the wetland's most iconic beast. And if you want to keep track of the progress, Rewilding Argentina posts regular updates on their social media pages.
Still to come on the travel show.
From Death Valley to the Canadian seaside, Simon's here with his picks for the best road trips in North America. We meet Scottish storytellers spinning yarns at a yearly festival. And I try to avoid getting eaten on a gaucho tour through the wetlands.
Omar, there's a crocodile right there. Should we be worried? No importa, eh? Don't worry about it. So don't go away.
Hello again. This week I'm looking at a form of travel that you tell us you absolutely adore, the great North American road trip. I'll be prescribing the best time to travel around the Southwest USA and recommending an itinerary to explore Canada's maritime provinces. First, in response to the alarming spread of the coronavirus known as COVID-19, the World Health Organization is advising travellers wherever they're heading to take a very basic precaution. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Some airlines have already suspended or cut back on flights, and many viewers have asked whether they can cancel planned trips to Asia without a penalty. There's no international agreement on which locations are regarded as high risk, and the basic principle is you can expect a refund from your travel provider or insurance company only if your government has warned against visiting your intended destination. Time to hit the road in North America, and Karen Story writes in on behalf of her daughter, who's planning to spend 3 months in the Southwest USA.
She wants to visit Arizona, Monument Valley, drive some of Route 66, and then travel via Death Valley to San Francisco Bay. What's the best time of year? October to January or March to May?
To help you out with this, I've sought someone with specialist knowledge.
Hey Karen, first off, that sounds like an awesome trip. The American Southwest is one of my favorite places to explore. In terms of your question, I would probably recommend going in March, April, as this is the kind of October, November weather we have right here. It's a little bit cloudy, it's a little bit rainy and dreary, not the best time to travel. If you go in March though, March or April, like you said, it's definitely a lot nicer. It's still cool in the desert, plus children are still in school. So it's much easier to get around to the touristy areas and not have a lot of people there.
Next, many people have been in touch about insurance for rental cars in North America, including John Turner.
When renting a car in the USA, should I take out all the protection policies offered by the rental company?
I rent cars a lot in North America, and fortunately I've never had a problem with insurance. Maybe that's the way that I organise it, which is booking through a travel agent in the UK, getting my flight and rental car in the same transaction, and insisting on comprehensive insurance so that when I turn up at the desk I decline all the kind offers to buy all kinds of insurances I simply don't need. Next, let's go north of the border to Canada and the Maritime provinces, which is the destination of Val Staplehurst and her husband.
We are planning a 2-week trip starting and ending in Halifax, Nova Scotia for our summer holiday. Are there any ideas or tips you can offer?
Fly into the fine city of Halifax and spend a couple of days there. The Titanic exhibit in the Maritime Museum is particularly interesting. And you'll also not need a car in the city, which means you'll be able to save money, particularly on the airport pickup. Head along to Digby for the ferry to St John, New Brunswick, an appealing city and good for one night. Charlottetown is a lovely place to stay before making for the ferry to Pictou. Next day, begin what I think is the highlight of the region, Cape Breton. Do keep sending in your questions and I'll do my very best to supply the answers. Bye for now and see you next time.
This week I'm exploring Argentina's Ibera wetlands. My guide Omar has offered to show me how paisanos navigate the waterways.
3, 2, 1. Woo! Okay. Different experience without a saddle on. Let me tell you that right now. Woo-hoo. Omar, there's a crocodile right there. Should we be worried? Hay un crocodilo, un caiman. No importa, eh? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's what we do.
As the river deepens and the horse can't reach the bottom, the trick is to slip off and hold on for the ride.
Now? Okay, so left hand here, right hand behind, grab the tail. Oh, and we're away! This is one of the craziest things I've done in my entire life. The water doesn't taste very good, and there's miscellaneous things, some slimy, some spiky, rubbing against most of my body. Almost having my arm attached like a moving train. They're strong animals, even in the water. Oh, we made it. Good job, Tony. That was hard work for me. Can't imagine the work for you. We made it, Omar.
Omar runs these extraordinary expeditions for tourists.
And if you want my tip,
Just don't think too much about what's brushing against you underwater. And to end this week, we go from wetlands to islands. Orkney is 10 miles north of mainland Scotland. Every winter, islanders and tourists come together for the annual storytelling festival, celebrating the area's folklore traditions.
This story takes place on the island of Stronsay, one of the North Isles in Orkney. And it involves a young lady by the name of Ursula.
You don't see so many ferries around the West Mainland anymore, and there is a reason for that. You see, a terrible thing happened long ago.
Her father died.
There was a terrible
And she could make her own choices about who she married, and she owned everything around her.
Stories have been around as long as language has been around, and these stories are very much part of our cultural identity, part of what makes Orcadians Orcadians. Orkney is quite a unique place. We have, 5,000-year-old villages still standing, stone circles, just standing on a shore watching huge breakers rolling in from the Atlantic Ocean. It's really quite hypnotic. It's violent but peaceful at the same time. And it was always that ever-present risk and dangers from the sea as well. That has a strong influence on folk tales.
Orkney has a very, very rich heritage of folklore. About the strange creatures, about the Selkie folk who are half seal and half human. Every mound in a field has its little goblins and fairies and brownies. Every age that humans go through, there's this search for some sort of spiritual meaning. Those kind of connections with the land, with the sea, with the sky. And I think folklore is a way of exploring those things. The Orkney Storytelling Festival is in its 10th year in its present form. We have wonderful invited storytellers who come from all over the world. Sometimes the stories are very similar. A lot of places have a creation myth about how an island was formed, how a mountain came into being, and there's a lot of similarities. It's wonderful if people come and hear a story from Africa, or a story from Norway, or a story from North America, a story from Orkney, and they think, I wonder if there are any stories about the place that I come from.
Now, we're going to hear from a lot of different people today, friends from near and far.
You can decide at the end if this really happened.
The waves were coming up over the harbour, the wind was blowing, and
every single time she broke a lump of peat, a mouse fell out until there was a whole squad of mice.
The next day, Hare showed up at Otter's place, and Otter had prepared a beautiful feast for him.
We also have an event in the old school Quailu, which brings together people who play ancient musical instruments, who are going to explore all the connections between song and folklore and history.
Escapism was a huge part of the storytelling tradition. I mean, it was entertainment as well. In the evenings, you got together and you told stories. It was the kind of glue that held the fabric of society together.
Tonight is the last night of the Orkney Storytelling Festival, and it's the grand finale, so it's the absolute best of the best. This is when the storytellers are really, you know, the biggest, the best stories. And we sit and we have a little drink, and we really just enjoy all the very best that the festival has to offer. So it's a lovely finish to the whole festival.
I think stories really unite people, and I think if you have this shared experience and shared cultural heritage, it does make you stronger, because especially if there are values in the stories that you really identify with and that are really important to you, you say, yes, I belong to the culture that owns these stories.
For storytelling and the folklore to survive, it has to have a framework, it has to be an organised thing. And that's one of the reasons that we do what we do. It's one of the reasons why we have the festival.
I think that the Orkney Storytelling Festival has really brought something back to the culture again. People are coming from all over the world just to hear stories here in Orkney. It doesn't matter if you're a lord or as poor as a church mouse, you're all welcome.
Well, that's all for this week. But coming up next week,
Rajan's in Jerusalem, uncovering an ancient pilgrimage route that's been buried underground.
We are now walking on original 2,000-year-old limestone street that was the center of all of Jerusalem.
This is the original limestone?
The original.
you're not going to want to miss it. But for now, from me, Mike Corey, and the rest of the team here in Argentina, it's goodbye.